Have you ever caught yourself thinking about what life would be like without the weight of other people's opinions? Without that constant anxiety of needing to please or live up to expectations that aren't yours? The truth is, many of us spend our lives trapped in these patterns. It's like we're constantly racing to meet external expectations while our own happiness takes a back seat. But what if I told you there's a way to change that? That there's a path to achieving unshakable inner peace, where external influences lose their power over you? Imagine waking up every day with the certainty that your happiness is completely in your hands, and you don't depend on anyone else to feel whole. It's a somewhat counterintuitive idea, isn't it? After all, society teaches us the opposite, that we need other people's validation to be happy. But in this video, we're going to explore a different path. A path that Buddha showed us, and that can transform your life for the better. We're going to talk about how focusing on yourself can be the key to a freedom that few people know. So, if you're ready to discover how to find this inner strength and stop being carried away by external expectations, stay with me. And before we go any further, tell me, what's the word that represents freedom to you? Write it in the comments, and let's strengthen this journey together. Imagine a life where your decisions aren't influenced by other people's opinions. Think about how liberating it would be to wake up every day knowing that your inner peace can't be shaken by external expectations. Today, we are constantly surrounded by people telling us what to do, how to live, and even how to think. But Buddha teaches us that the secret to rising above this chaos is simple. Focus on yourself. This doesn't mean selfishness, but rather a way to reconnect with who you really are without getting lost in comparisons and judgments. Think of a common situation. You decide to change careers, but friends and family start questioning your choice. Comments like, "This is risky," or "It's not safe," might make you rethink or even abandon your decision. How many times has this happened to you? That's the weight of others' expectations, an invisible prison that limits your steps. However, when you start asking yourself, "What do I really want?" you begin to free yourself from these chains. It's not about disregarding others, but about listening to your own voice more. Take the example of Steve Jobs, who was fired from Apple, the very company he founded. That could have been the end for him, but instead of being ruled by others' opinions, Jobs used this time to reconnect with his purpose. Later, he returned to Apple, led the creation of the iPhone, and revolutionized the tech industry. His story teaches us that when we break free from the fear of disappointing or not meeting others' expectations, we find our true strength. Every step you take toward what you really want is a step toward freedom. The search for true happiness often leads us outside of ourselves. We look for satisfaction in other people's approval, in material achievements, or in situations beyond our control. But Buddha teaches us that true peace doesn't come from what's around us, but from what we cultivate within. Genuine happiness arises when we stop relying on others to validate our worth and instead learn to find contentment in our own essence. When you do this, you create a solid foundation that can't be shaken by external circumstances. Imagine how liberating it would be not to depend on compliments or the acceptance of others to feel good about yourself. Often, we feel vulnerable, as if our happiness is in the hands of those around us. But inner peace, the kind that comes from self-sufficiency, is something no one can take from you. Instead of seeking answers and approval from the outside world, start looking within. That's where your real strength lies, the strength that can keep you steady no matter what happens around you. Before we continue, take just 5 seconds of your time to give a like and write the word peace in the comments. It will be forever recorded in our video and helps contribute to the growth of the channel. This shift in perspective transforms the way you see life's challenges. When we understand that true peace is something we carry inside, we stop being disturbed by the chaos around us. This state of tranquility allows us to face any difficulty with more clarity and balance, knowing that our happiness doesn't depend on what happens outside, but on the strength we build within. We often see solitude as something negative, but it can be one of the greatest sources of personal power. When we embrace moments when we are alone, we give ourselves the chance to reflect on who we truly are and what really matters in our lives. In a world where we are constantly surrounded by distractions and noise, these moments of silence and introspection become precious spaces for self-discovery. Solitude is not something to fear. It's an opportunity to strengthen our mind and spirit. Society teaches us that we should always be connected, always surrounded by others. But in reality, it's when we're alone that we find the space to grow. When we allow ourselves to be in our own company, we realize that we are stronger and more independent than we imagined. These moments of reflection offer us clarity, help us see what we truly desire, and prepare us to better handle difficult situations. Solitude, far from being a burden, can be what gives us the courage to follow our own paths. As you learn to become comfortable with solitude, you discover that the greatest company you can have is your own. This doesn't mean we should live in isolation, but that we are capable of finding peace and strength when we're by ourselves. When we stop fearing solitude and view it as a space for growth, we become more confident and prepared to face life's challenges with balance and clarity. This is the power of solitude, allowing us to grow and strengthen our essence. Rejection is an inevitable part of life. Whether in relationships, work, or personal dreams, we've all faced a no at some point. But instead of seeing it as a barrier, Buddha teaches us to view rejection as an opportunity for growth. It's not about failure, but about redirection, a chance to adjust our path. When we change the way we see rejection, it loses its power to hurt us and instead becomes a tool for strengthening us. It's common for the fear of rejection to be tied to the need to please others. How many times have you avoided pursuing a project or idea for fear of not being accepted? This fear can paralyze us. But when we understand that rejection doesn't define our worth, we free ourselves from this anxiety. By seeing rejection as a natural part of the process, we learn to move forward with more courage and confidence. A no can simply be a step toward a yes that aligns more closely with your true purposes. The fear of others' judgment also limits many people. We live worried about what others will think of our decisions, but the truth is, most people are too busy with their own lives to judge us as much as we imagine. When you understand this, you give yourself permission to be more authentic and to make decisions without the constant weight of fear. Rejection and judgment may appear, but they don't have the power to define who you are. By overcoming these fears, you clear the way for a fuller and more authentic life. We often waste our energy trying to control things that are beyond our reach, other people's behavior, unpredictable situations, and even the outcomes of our actions. However, Buddha teaches us that true power lies in focusing on what we can control, our own thoughts, emotions, and reactions. When we concentrate on what's within our control, we find a sense of freedom and inner peace because we're no longer struggling against the inevitable. Think of the times when you tried to change someone's attitude or force a situation to unfold according to your expectations. This usually leads to frustration and exhaustion. But what happens when you redirect that energy inward, working on your own reaction to the circumstances? By doing this, you regain control. We can't change what happens around us, but we can change the way we respond to these events. This is liberating because it puts the power back in your hands. This shift in perspective allows us to live with more clarity and tranquility. By letting go of the need to control the external, we become less reactive and more intentional. The chaos around us may continue, but it no longer has the power to deeply shake us. Focusing on what's within our control helps us make wiser decisions, live with more serenity, and realize that in the end, the true power was always in our hands. Now that you've learned the secrets to achieving true inner peace and freeing yourself from external expectations, here's the question. What will you do with this knowledge? Change starts within each of us, and the decision to focus on yourself is the first step toward a more authentic and balanced life. So I ask you, which area of your life do you feel most needs this transformation? In what part of your life do you feel you're seeking others' approval more than your own? Answer in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. And remember, personal growth doesn't happen overnight, but every small change you make today can have a huge impact on your future. If you're committed to following this path and want to keep learning how to build a more fulfilling life, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss any content that can help you on this journey. Thank you so much for watching, and let's walk together in search of a life filled with more peace and purpose.